Hey guys, welcome to part 36 of What If Dale Survived the Remake. Didn't do Dale's Tale this time because I'm kind of evening it out, even if it is funny and stuff. Gotta still try to keep it somewhat professional for my own sake. But anyways, last time we got into the entrance of the wolves, and now we're gonna get into the different story that Morgan is going to be telling Owen, and how it will be much different, and what will happen next. So, let's get into it. But before we do, you guys should definitely hit that subscribe button, or even the bell. It honestly doesn't matter. I ain't gonna be picky about the bell icon, never have been, but subscribe nonetheless, because this story is full of new topics, awesomeness, and better quality content than ever before, and I'm sure that oldies and newbies alike are not going to want to miss the stuff that appears here on Nick's Topics. So I definitely hit that subscribe button. Anyways, let's get into the tale. So Morgan and his story to Owen, since he's been with the group for pretty much since season 3's canon storyline, whenever Rick went to find him and everything, well, or ironically find him, his story is going to be much different. He would go on to talk about, like, maybe being on his own and some of that stuff, but the story would consist of what happened after Rick went from Woodbury to find him and everything that happened afterward. Like, every single big part, including, like, leading up to now. But he wouldn't be doing this alone, because Aaron, Eastman, Rick, Dale, and Tyrese would all back him up. And it's the far cry from most of the people in the original, pretty much everyone in the original, and half of my stories where the Wolves leader here was not wanted in any way, shape, or form. But here, literally with Dale, Eastman, and Tyrese especially, changing people is literally the end goal. It always has been, especially since I started the Dale and Eastman what-ifs. That would definitely come up here. And with both their influence plus Tyrese and that council, you cannot deny that this would definitely be how it goes. And they would all together explain everything that had happened since Woodbury and how they got here today, Dale's arm, and every single major plot point. And surprisingly, more than Morgan's original story about him and Eastman, Owen is actually listening, and not mockingly or like anything like that. He's legit listening to every single word and taking it all in. And after they're all done, he admits that, okay. Now, everyone is like confused what he means by this, but he says he understands. He understands what everybody is saying and what they're trying to do, redeem him, and he gets it. He understands and everything, and he's not going to do anything bad, and his wolves, they're dead. That's their own fault. But him, he gets it. Now, does that mean that he's willing to sucker into their lifestyle just yet? No. And he says this himself. But he does admit that they have told him an amazing story. And an amazing story like what they just told him definitely does not make him want to do any more bad stuff. But it doesn't mean that he wants to be a little goody two-shoes like the rest of them. Even though literally they're still listening to them and everything. They're not all goody two-shoes, but they all get what he means. And even though he says this and he's not ready to like get into what they're doing just yet, you gotta admit, Morgan, Eastman, everybody else, including Rick, they would be very proud of this. Because of the council with Dale, Eastman, and Tyrese, and Maggie and everything, especially moving into Alexandria and trying to change people, and Dale literally doing the shotgun arm and trying to keep that whole thing, this would definitely go a long ways to proving that the philosophy of changing people still works. And This would be a great moment to witness that even if the guy's not completely on their side, and his wolf men are all dead, at least something good did come out of it, and only one person, Carter, who really no one cares about, is the only one that died. But while they're celebrating this little moment, they hear a loud crashing noise at the gates outside of where they are, down in the cellar, and they hear a loud crash and bang noise. It sounds like a literal building collapsing, because barely anyone is outside this time because of the changing moments and everything like that. Now you guys might be asking, what is the noise? It's the clock tower. But wait, Nick, wait. You said that the truck didn't crash into the clock tower and that people were there to stop it. Well, just like the plot twist with everyone surviving mainly from Woodbury, I lied, because it makes for a better moment in the story, and I'm sure you all can agree. They were able to stop the guy much better than Spencer did, and they were able to kill the driver, obviously, but they didn't destroy the truck. The truck didn't blow up, the truck didn't stop. It still crashed into the clock tower, but this time it took longer to fall down. Like, a little bit longer than the original, not by too much. So that big horde from the quarry, which also killed Enid, that's now fully coming into Alexandria. So that whole horde, literally the entire thing, because of the leadership changes and everything, the whole horde is coming into Alexandria, which is a major big moment, which is why I lied. So, sorry yet not sorry. But yeah, the whole horde is in Alexandria, and this is definitely something to worry about, but not entirely, because mainly everybody at this point is not outside, or they are perched up in a way so the walkers can't get them. Aside from small nobodies that we never got any character development with, like the ladies that Carol talked to and really unimportant characters. That's all I'm gonna say, but mainly everyone is okay. And right here, this is where Rick's leadership and everything is fully taken into effect. He was already named the leader, like he was in season 6 and everything, but with how he's been in the story and everything, it's been different to how his leadership role was put into Alexandria. So, right now is where the leadership role for Rick Grimes in Alexandria is fully put into effect. So, he makes the plan to burst out of the doors with everybody, and they gotta lead the horde away, because even though they could fight the horde, that doesn't mean that they should. Because even if they still have plenty of good ammo and guns and everything else, they would likely run out and take out like 70% of the horde. Then they're dry on ammo and guns. And what if they need them for later? Which he kind of blames himself for this, because they should have looked into stuff like this, but Rick was just sucking up the lifestyle, and honestly, he's not going to get into a full rant on himself about this. He just says, now they have a chance to right that wrong and do this right. They could fight it, and they don't have to do just guns, because they did take out the whole horde in the original with just melee weapons and like Daryl and everything, but that's beside the point. He just says that this is the better method to not only save more people, but save more resources overall. So that way they have that stuff for later usage, especially considering the fact that one of those guns is Dale's gun, and we all know what happens if he overshoots his shotgun. He goes bye-bye, die-die. Anyways, the ones to lure away the horde are going to be Daryl, Sasha, Beth, and Tyrese, because there is no Abraham, and Beth would likely be included, and I have included her in many situations like this, if not almost all of my stories revolving around this point. Either that or like Alicia or something like that. It really doesn't matter. But anyways, Rick says to everybody if they're ready, and now they gotta make their move. He busts open the door, and everybody who's there and around the area gets their weapons ready, and boom, 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 they shoot all the walkers that are in front of them, so that way they can make a trail to the vehicles and everything to lure the horde away. So Daryl gets on his bike with Beth in tow, and after that, Tyrese and Sasha follow in the vehicle that Sasha and Abraham used, and with that, they begin to slowly but surely lure the horde away. That was a bit of a weird way to say that. I couldn't properly say that for a sec. Now, it does take some time to fully get the horde away. Honking, gunshots, stuff like that. But after annoyingly some amount of time, they drive a long ways out. This would probably take quite a while. And they manage to, at Daryl's notice, lure the herd away far enough from Alexandria so that they never have to see it again. Or if they do come back again, they'll be way more ready for this. So, with that said, the horde is lured away from Alexandria and just goes to parts unknown. Now, whether or not it comes in contact with Alpha, I've done that before. But I'm not really going to bring that up now, because at this point in the production, I didn't know whether to put it in Alpha's horde. But hey, if you see that sooner or later in the coming episodes, then we'll just cross that bridge when we come to it. I just don't remember. LOL. Anyways, this means that Carter is the only victim, Deanna and Reg are both alive, and Owen is still around, with much different character development, and obviously we've had him turn good most of the time around this point, either that or just a bit after, but it's just noticeable that he is around at this given point. And we also get a very key moment, Rosita and Spencer making their way towards the Anderson residence, that of which being obviously Jesse and Sam and whatnot, and throw Ron onto the porch, which alerts Jesse because she and Rick and everybody were around, obviously, to start the plan. So, Rosita, mainly her, she throws Ron literally, forcefully onto the porch of the residence, and Jesse is like, what the frick just happened? She can't tell what happened, obviously, but Rosita basically says, your little brat tried to kill me, but I showed him his place, and I can't tell if it's because I beat his father pretty much to death, or if he's just a stupid kid, but I think you need to control your kid a little bit better if he's going to go ahead and just kill the people that he lives with. Rosita would definitely say this in around this tone, and it would definitely be an awesome moment besides her beating Pete to literal death. Still unconfirmed if he's really dead. We just know that he's left to die because he was beaten literally to death, but I'm just going to leave that up in the air for now. But that's going to still come back later, trust me. And Jesse is like, she's looking at Ron after Rosita says this, and she's like, Ron, is this true? And Ron just looks at her and is like, he doesn't care. He tells her, she killed my dad. Or do you not care about him? That Ron would definitely say it around that way. And when he says these exact words, he gets punched in the face by Daryl. They would have been back around this time, obviously. And the reason he did this, out of the pretty much nowhere, is because Pete was the one who killed Carol, and obviously Daryl and Carol were still close in this story. I just didn't give it too many moments of which it was like that. But obviously they would be. There wasn't anything to stop that, per se. So, yeah. Daryl would definitely say, your brat deserved it. And if Rosita's beating didn't teach him a lesson, that punch surely did the right amount of freaking, thought process of what he has tried to do to Rosita and to everybody else. You need to control your kid. Basically siding with Rosita. Ron definitely deserved it. And Jesse's just looking at Ron dumbfounded to how he could do this because of Pete? Pete? Are you serious? And she's like, if Ron could have seen what she saw and what everybody else saw with Carol and everything, he probably wouldn't have done this. But we all know Ron very well could have seen it and still did it. Who knows? It really doesn't matter. And then Rick comes up and is like, you don't fully know what your father was, what he did, and how much of a maniac, menace, and monster he was, and every other M word that could describe how bad he was. We have all lost someone or bunches of people. You need to grow up and understand you're not the only one with loss. And Ron just opens his big, dumb, stupid mouth to Rick and just tells him, what could you possibly understand about loss? And he says this to Rick because, for one thing, he just thinks Rick is just an idiot for opening his mouth randomly, and because he beat up his dad before Rosita ended up killing him, presumably. And Rick just looks at Ron after this and is like, what did you say? Now, he doesn't say this, and I guarantee he might, but he would definitely give the look that, like, yeah, why? What are you saying? And he just can't understand, just like with everybody else, how Ron could have just listened to everything. He just got beat up by Rosita, punched by Daryl, lectured by his mom, and then lectured by Rick, and he's still going with the mouth. And Rick is just dumbfounded, just like with everybody else. And even Jessie is like, at this point, she wants to stop her kid, but she's already tried, and he just keeps on going and going and going. And she is literally raising her voice to Ron at this point, like, Ron, you need to shut your mouth. Like, you've been lectured and beat up and everything. Stop talking. Just stop talking. But Ron, he's just like, why should I? Why should I shut my mouth? I want to know what this man understands about loss. What could he possibly understand about losing somebody? My dad is dead because of what? Just a random lady? What did that random lady have to offer the community? Huh? And this guy is just as bad as that chick Rosita who killed my dad in the first place, and he's the one who beat him up previously. He is just as bad, if not worse, than that chick Rosita. So I want to know what this Rick fella, who seems to be so high on the Deanna list that he suckered everybody here into his little freaking bench of happiness, what could this man have to understand about loss compared to someone like me and you and everyone else in this community? And at this point, everyone is staring directly at Ron with blank expressions. Like, dude, how could you say that? And everyone is holding themselves back from just punching the frick out of Ron right now, because Daryl and Rosita pretty much already did that. And he's still going, and everyone's just staring at him motionless. They don't know what to say until the long silence and ignorance of the moment is broken by Rick looking down, closing his eyes, and getting straight into Ron's face. Like he was already right up to his face, lecturing him. And now he's literally staring at him so closely that he's almost making Ron about to fall down from how close he is to him. And then he opens his eyes, opens his mouth, and throws an angry rant and begins to himself, for the first time since he fought Pete at Alexandria, get frustrated. And he tells him, and I quote, "Let me tell you something, you snot-nosed, upstart, insubordinate, ruffianic kid. You're the one who doesn't understand loss. Now, you gotta admit, even though Ron kind of dug a hole here, getting Rick and pretty much everyone else mad because Daryl punched him and Rosita obviously beat him up beforehand and Jesse got mad at him, you can't deny the fact that at this point, Ron is asking to be roasted within 1,000 freaking miles of Rick Grimes. He is asking for this to happen to him. So, after he says all of this to Ron, he begins to name all the people very close to him that he lost, saying that he himself had to kill his best friend, who he had been with since before the start of the apocalypse and into it, and then had to watch his son, his wife, and almost every other person close to him die. He is lucky to have the people around him right now who have survived through freaking hell and back. And that's, yeah, he does understand about loss, probably more than this kid will ever understand. Probably more than pretty much 90% of the people in Alexandria. And, you know, the entire world at this point. And Dale is even like, to Jesse and Ron, like, he agrees with this and is like, to Jesse, we need to stop him right now. He is opening his mouth way too freaking much and even says to Ron, Rick has got you there. Like, you need to be quiet at this point. And after this, Jesse is like, well, he's proved you wrong there, Ron. And she's calm at this point because of Rick ranting like this. She feels that no more needs to be done other than telling Ron, like, everyone agrees that Rick kind of got you there. There's not really too much that you could say that will be able to make you bounce back from the freaking 1,000-mile roast and rant that Rick just delivered your way. That's pretty much what everyone is indicating to Ron. And Ron just looks down at this point. He's not agreeing with this by any means because he's freaking Ron. He's stupid. But he isn't in a position, like everybody's saying, that he could do something about it. Like, he can't kill anybody. He can't say anything back. And he can't do anything. He can't do anything. So, at this point, he just shuts his mouth and looks down and is like, you know what? Frick this. And after this, and the threat of the wolves and the horde being over, Rick and Jesse would get into a full-on relationship here. This is where it fully takes into effect, because once again, no Michonne and no one to take the spot for Rick being in a relationship. So, Rick's leadership of Alexandria is fully taken into effect here. But Deanna and Reg are still around, and we have a lot of changes, big moments, and big reveals and everything lining up for the Savior arc, which is going to start next episode. So what did you guys think of this episode? Do you think that Ron will be able to live with this? What is actually going to happen with the house that Pete resides in, or did reside in? Do you think that he's actually been left there to die? Or do you think somehow, some way, he is recovering very slowly, but is still alive? And what about the threat of the Saviors and the looming episodes to come? And that's where we leave things for the moment. Now, this was sort of a big episode, yet not like really, besides Rick and pretty much everyone there beating and roasting Ron half to death, and basically proving him to be a little snot-nosed brat. But with that said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, action or not, because let's be honest, even though they've all not been like action or dark moments, this is probably gonna go down, like I've been saying, as your guys' pretty much favorite series of all time. I guarantee you. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, because within the next 5 to 6 parts, this baby's coming to a wrap. So with that, I'll see you guys next time.